talking about Iran's relationship with the U.S. and Obama and Mitt Romney's views on it. So, to talk about Iran a little bit to start, it used to be known as Persia until 1935, but now it's known as the Islamic Republic of Iran. Its government, it's a theocratic republic, which means it's a republic, but then it also has a theocracy, is when you have the religion in the government. So like the U.S., they have the executive branch, the judicial branch, and the legislative branch. But in their executive branch, they have two president-like leaders. They have Mohammed Ahmadinejad, which is the president, which is like the head of the government. Then they have Ali Khamenei, which is their chief of state or their supreme leader. So in Iran, the EU, which is the European Union, a bunch of the European countries that are allied together, the UN and the US have economic sanctions on Iran right now, which means that they limit the trade. So they're limited because they think that Iran supports terrorism and they don't agree with their uranium development. So right here we have a little cartoon about uranium is what they make in the atomic bombs, and it also makes energy, but the main reason the U.S. sees that Iran wants it is because they want to make more nuclear weapons. So, by the way, Israel is the only Middle Eastern country with nuclear weapons and the capability of making them, and so if Iran was able to make nuclear weapons, then the U.S. would be threatened. So would many of the EU and many other of their allies, so none of them want that. The power that the European countries have, because the U.S. is allies with Israel, they wouldn't have that much power anymore. So Iran itself has had lots of bloody battles with the U.S., but one of the founding factors of why the Middle Eastern countries as a whole don't like the U.S. and other European countries is because after World War II, the European countries came in. The Ottoman Empire used to rule all of this Middle East area, and after World War II, they fell and they collapsed. And so when the European countries went in and they basically drew the lines of all the countries in here, and they disregarded how the ethnicities lived, the different ethnic groups. So basically all these countries were really mad because everybody else was telling them what to do. And the US went in and they made this tiny little country over here. You can't really see it, but Israel, they kicked out the Palestinian group, this group of people that were living there. They kicked them out, and then Jewish people from around the world, but a lot from America, they called the Zionists. They moved here and they made their own country there. And so basically, Israel is seen as kind of a foreign power, and everybody else around here hates Israel. And the U.S. is allies with Israel. So, more facts about Iran. They're mostly 98% Muslim. There's, it's Shia Muslim. Tehran is the capital. Right here you can see. And so basically, the U.S. has really bad relationships with them right now, and Iran and Israel are not friends either.
My foreign policy blocks the transfer of weapons, components, technology, and dual-use items to Iran's prohibited nuclear and missile programs.
Studies have shown that during the last 4 years, Iran's nuclear program has shown more growth than ever. They have had more access to uranium due to Obama's strategies.
We will target select sectors of the Iranian economy relevant to its proliferation activities. So basically, continue to cut Iran off in trade, and because of this, they won't be able to buy the material they need. Then their economy will also be in trouble, so they will be more likely to comply with our terms.
I do not believe Iran should have the ability to attain an atomic bomb. First of all, because they are in the most tumultuous area in the world with terrorist and extremist leaders, and secondly, they could use the bomb to attack our ally Israel.
I will induce Iran to engage constructively through discussions with the United States, China, France, Germany, the UK, and Russia in the E3 process to return compliance with its non-proliferation obligations.
I will begin organizing all of our diplomatic and assistance efforts in the greater Middle East under one official with the authority and accountability necessary to train all our soft power resources on ensuring that the Arab Spring does not fade into a long winter. And if Israel is attacked, we have their back, not just diplomatically, not just culturally, but militarily. That's number one.
If Iran returned to compliance with its international obligations, all countries will remove sanctions.
Number two, something I would add today is I would tighten those sanctions. I would say that ships that carry Iranian oil can't come into our ports. I imagine the EU would agree with us as well. Not only ships couldn't, but I'd say companies that are moving their oil can't. People who are trading in their own oil can't. I would tighten those sanctions further. Secondly, I'd take on diplomatic isolation efforts, meaning I would treat the Iranian diplomats like outcasts.